Hello and welcome to the Summer School and YouTube channel. My name is Nico. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, hello and welcome back to the podcast. First, before I get to the topic for today, I have some housekeeping notes. One, there is construction going on next door still. You might hear hammers. I have no control over that, but I'm still determined to give you the content that you came for. And speaking of content, point two, I will not be delivering content every single Friday indefinitely moving forward. I still will be uploading videos to this channel. It's just that I want to spend more time right now figuring out what I'm going to do next. I originally, I'll just make this quick, but originally when I ended this school year, I told everybody all I want to do is write. That's it. That's my only goal, to write. And man, what's happened in these past 3 months for me personally has been just stupendous. And I could have never imagined being able to talk to the people I'm talking to on this channel, being able to write articles that are well received on Wrong Speak. But I still want to focus on my goal. I'm not against working in a classroom. I'm not against working with kids. I just don't want to work in a classroom. And kind of at that point where, all right, I'm ready to get back to work. So I need to figure out what exactly I'll be doing work-wise moving forward. That being said, I love this channel. It has been very cathartic for me. And a lot of these videos have helped me in terms of filtering out my ideas and streamlining them so that they're ready to be in my book, which I am currently writing an hour at a time. It's just slowly chipping away, but it's being written, and this YouTube channel has helped tremendously with that. So if you don't see videos on Fridays, don't worry. I'm still uploading, just not every Friday, guaranteed. But you know what's guaranteed is that I'll be talking about the topic of this video, which is it's a community problem. Now, I am only I'm talking about this right now because it's funny reading through all the comments that I've gotten on my YouTube videos. I'm very thankful for all the engagement. It's amazing how many people are requesting that I talk about parents or criticize parents, and I will say that there will be a video where I'm gonna give parents the business, pretty much. Just and it's not all parents. It's just it's fascinating to me that people want to talk about. Even parents of my old class have told me, "Hey, when are you going to make that video on parents?" I will give parents the business in a future video, but I want to make sure that my thoughts aren't bitter or resentful as they come out. In this video, you might get hints of that, hints of what might be in that video, but I just want to talk today about something more, I guess, pragmatic. I don't want to take the time to just blame parents. I think just that phenomenon of people being so immediate to blame parents, to me, that's no different than people that just want to immediately blame teachers. It is a community problem. I think you can hold every piece in this system accountable, and there's nothing wrong with that so long as you're doing it with the intent that this could improve, this system can improve. So I'll start off this video with an excerpt from this book that I just read, Agency by Ian Rowe. Man, this is a well-written book. For anyone that is curious as to teaching methods, philosophies, and just outlooks when it comes to schools that serve lower income areas, Ian Rowe has had a body of work in the field, and this book, it's almost like a culmination of all his experience. And it's called Agency because he's basically arguing about, hey, we can't forget how valuable it is for a child of any class to be aware of their inherent potential. A lot of the current political struggles and cultural struggles is distracting children and teachers and educators away from that constant, which is that what I call the wellspring of hope in everyone. Too much focusing on the externals as being a reason of your plight. But from his experience working with the lower class, those people in the community don't necessarily agree with that. Yes, they might be in circumstances that aren't ideal, but they're not dumb. They know they want better for their child and for themselves. So you can teach them. They won't be offended by having you tell them what they can do for themselves. They like it because you're giving them tangible things that they could do with their life. Again, buy this book. But in this book, he talks about this idea of finding out the limits of schools. People want to say, oh, it's the parents' fault. Oh, no, it's the teacher's fault. Oh, it's it's the school district. There's a limit on what schools can do, and this little parable that he shares is just incredible. So I'll read it here and see if you understand what's going on. I'll talk about it at the end. Once upon a time, there was a small village on the edge of the river. The people there were good, and life in the village was good. One day, a villager noticed a baby floating down the river. The villager quickly swam out to save the baby from drowning. The next day, this same villager noticed 2 babies in the river. He called for help, and both babies were rescued from the swift waters. And the following day, 4 babies were seen caught in the turbulent current, and then 8, then more, and then still more. The villagers organized themselves quickly, setting up watchtowers and training teams of swimmers who could resist the swift waters and rescue babies. Rescue squads were soon working 24 hours a day, and each day the number of helpless babies floating down the river increased. The villagers organized themselves efficiently. The rescue squads were now snatching many children each day. Though not all the babies now, very numerous, could be saved, the villagers felt they were doing well to save as many as they could each day. Indeed, the village priests blessed them in their good work, and life in the village continued on that basis. Then, one day, the villagers noticed a young man running northward along the bank. They shouted, "Where are you going? We need you to help with the rescue." He responded, "I'm going upstream to find the son of a gun who is throwing these kids into the river." And I love that parable because it perfectly explains the limits of schools. Now, if you didn't get it, this is my perception. Maybe you have a different opinion. Share it in the comments below. In that story, the village is clearly the school. They are running a system that has adapted to a problem. The problem in real life is you have kids that don't know any better and they need to be educated. They need academic skills to survive in this world, or else they will drown. So the village is the school, and what's happening upstream, that doesn't necessarily have to just be parents. In my opinion, that's what's happening in the community at large, what's happening outside of those walls. The only thing I would add to this story, because it's a great story, is that, I say it's a community problem. Maybe the problem is definitely out or upstream in that parable. But after being a teacher, there's definitely people in that village who are just digging in their nose, who are just there to just do a job and not necessarily do it great. Hey, just because you're in that village does not make you immune from criticism, and I don't understand the lack of accountability on teachers. I never could understand that, and teachers contribute to this problem, to the problems in education too. I'm not saying they're only to blame. I've seen it. I'm sure I contributed to the problem in some ways that I don't know. I'm not better than these people, but I don't think schools improve by just blaming parents, by just blaming administrators, by just blaming teachers. Let's look around and see what's going on. For example, I don't think that schools are lenient because of the fault of parents. A lot of people criticize schools for being too kind, too there's no discipline. They don't suspend kids and all of this stuff. Yes, that was brought about, which you should totally read the book Coddling of the American Mind by Greg Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt. Excellent book that introduces you to how the anxiety culture of the 90s for parents really contributed to the demands they made around childcare and education. They wanted the absolutely safest environment intellectually and physically for their child. That parents did do that, and this resulted in a lot of lawsuits, just a tsunami of lawsuits. Man, in my time working in schools and in childcare, there are parents, and this is not all parents, but there is a small body of parents that are just eager to sue a school, get the money, just for any slight that could be used as leverage. So any slight against their kid that can be used as leverage to just punish the school. It's basically an adult throwing a tantrum. And yes, parents contribute to this lenient culture, but I would also make the argument that schools fail to do their job. I mean, if education is an institution that prides itself in critical thinking, in holding yourself accountable, in being a servant or being a public service to the community, they should have stood on those values in the face of these tantrums thrown by these parents. That schools acquiesced too much, and they gave up too much ground to these childish adults. And as a result, you kind of gave the parents what they wanted, and over the years, it just resulted in schools losing any incentive to be rigorous, any incentive to be challenging, any incentive to put the heat to children's feet. Like, hey, you're messing up, and we don't tolerate that in our schools because too many parents said my child's self-esteem is being destroyed because you gave them a C- instead of a C+. How dare you? I think that schools could have done more to say to parents, look, just because you love your kid, and we totally respect that, just because you love your kid does not mean you understand how to interact, teach, and educate a whole diverse set of kids that aren't yours. Like, you think that your child learns the same way as all 35 other kids in that teacher's classroom, or all 400 or 500 kids in this school? You're neurotic. You're neurotic if you believe that. But no, schools didn't do anything. School districts will just constantly acquiesce to parents' demands, and this results in teachers not having much leverage either to speak for themselves, because more often than not, a principal or administrator will just take the side of the parents, which is a shame. I'm not saying from my experience, my last principal was awesome, super awesome. If you're blessed with a great administrator, you can't escape the shenanigans of public school. But if you have a great administrator, cherish that, because it helps make this circus much more manageable. This constant acquiescing can be seen in principals taking the sides of parents over a teacher, especially if you're not a tenured teacher. If you're a first-year teacher, no one has your back. Even the union can't have your back to a certain extent. But so teachers are kind of left being docile and submissive. To be honest, I was one of the teachers. I didn't really care. I would tell parents how I felt. I'd keep it professional, but I'd stand my ground. You can stand your ground without insulting the other party. And sometimes they'll appreciate it, and sometimes they'll double down on their anger, which honestly, to get in fights with the parents, it's not productive. If you're there to work with the kids, what benefit does it have to fight with their parents? Again, you're getting hints of the future video. All the parts of this machinery of public education need to be scrutinized. I know that this is kind of a scattered video, but it we can't just blame teachers unions, blame parents, blame teachers, blame administrators, and blame. We need to look at all of those people and see just how they're contributing to this problem of the babies flowing down the river. It's not just like, if you go, I'll end with this. If you go and look at my video on that book, Skippy Dies, the quote I read on there is super relevant. Schools can sometimes make the mistake that what's happening, the problems in the school are totally because of the problems outside the school. There's no way that something in the school is contributing to the basically to the recycling of society in terms of just raising kids to go on and take up our own problems that we didn't really address in our own lives as our generation. And the cycle just continues of mediocrity. Everyone is accountable. Everyone is accountable, and if we really want schools to improve, everyone's got to pull up their side of the couch. Sorry, I'm not going to point the finger at one person. I have a lot of grievances with teachers unions. I have a lot of grievances with parents. I have a lot of grievances with administrators, and you've seen my YouTube channel. You've seen it. You know what I have grievances on. But I'm not going to point to one thing. One thing was not what destroyed this joy of this craft for me. Like I don't want to be in a classroom and it wasn't just destroyed by one of those variables. It was destroyed by all of them. So I hope you enjoyed this content. Please, if you think it's one party over the other that's contributing to these mediocre schools and just the shenanigans going on, go ahead and make your case. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like it, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, and I will see you soon. Bye.